Cities across the country are terminating their flock contracts over tons of public backlash. But what they aren't telling you is that they're merely replacing flock with something else. If you take away the ALPRs and the hardware and the stuff that flock sells, you're left with Flock as a company. And Flock as a company is not good either. They have told lie after lie after lie and attacked people.
And then unfortunately there's terroristic organizations.
For those of you that don't know, Axon creates body cameras that the vast majority of police departments use. I'm sure if you've seen body cam footage, you've seen in like either the top left or the top right, the little Axon Body 3 or Axon Body 4. This is the company that is now making ALPRs. There's not really a lot of information just on the page itself. You know, if you go to Flock, has all these things that talk about it. If you go to Axon, they don't really have anything here, which is really concerning considering that these cameras are already being put up. And one noticeable difference that is made abundantly clear, it does explicitly say live streaming. Whenever I talked to my city council about this, they didn't even know that the Flock cameras that we have, they didn't even know that Flock cameras took video. Just in case if anyone else didn't know that these take video. So right here, I think a lot of these cities are trying to save face. Right here, let's just take Denver. First off, Denver had 100 Flock cameras. Now under this new Axon contract, they now have 50 cameras. And instead of 30-day data retention, it's now 21 days. Wow, what a difference. Instead of a 30-day footprint of where someone has been, it's now only a 21-day footprint. No access to a vendor-run national database. That is good. I will say that is good, but surveilling citizens 24/7 and being able to create a footprint from them is not good. And mandatory audit trails for every query. All of these are steps in the right direction. And as far as I know, Axon is not as bad as Flock from a company standpoint. I don't think they've lied blatantly as much. They aren't calling people terrorists.
Terroristic organizations.
They're morally up there, but you can only be on such a high moral high ground whenever you're mass surveilling hundreds of thousands of people. So let's look at how similar Axon is compared to Flock. So again, doing the same thing that Flock does, saying, let's say that a child has been kidnapped. And it says, in most cities, that would start a long, uncertain chase. The only reason that it would start a long, uncertain chase is if you have zero tools. There have been people with no plates and without names that have been caught for kidnapping people. Axon is acting like, oh, no plate, no name. Oh, we can't do anything unless you have these cameras. And then right here, within minutes, the child is found safe. And then also the way that this is worded, I think is very creepy. No guesswork. No delay, just the right eyes in the right place at the right time. You no longer have to make trade-offs when it comes to ALPR deployments, license plate recognition, or live streaming, implementing new cameras, or leveraging existing infrastructure. Axon is the only provider bringing it all together in one ecosystem. I'm curious what these trade-offs could be, and I'm guessing that since they're really trying to push these privacy invading cameras, that the trade-off is you aren't spying on every single one of your citizens and whenever they go to the grocery store, whenever they do anything. This also confirms that Axon does have a hot list feature, the same as Flock. But the way it is different. So instead of being added to a list, you're now added to a real-time live stream. So you are literally being like, you have a dedicated section just for you pretty much if you were added into one of these. Also, I think that there's a bit of typos on this page. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be plate reading, right? And then down here it says Axon Outpost is a powerful fixed camera. One thing I want to notice here is that Outpost can be easily deployed on new or existing poles, buildings, trailers, vehicles, or trees. And it says allowing you to expand coverage without new poles, trenching, or delays. This is a bad thing. I mentioned this in one of my previous videos where Flock cameras are being put in places that they should not be. They're placed in places where if a vehicle were to lose control and run into this camera, the person in that car would die. Or other times they aren't put in concrete, or there's like no breakaway pole and stuff like that. It is embarrassing. This bragging about how you can deploy it on new or existing poles, Axon should have more integrity. If they're trying to step in where Flock is messing up, they should promise like a whole reevaluation of the poles. And what's funny is that, you know, all of this is for under the guise of public safety. Nothing says public safety like installing a pole where if someone runs off the road, they're gonna die. This is the same thing that Flock has where you can connect other cameras to their system. Okay, so now we're getting into what these other things are. Each feed becomes part of a unified intelligence layer, whether it's an Axon camera, a city pole cam, or a third-party integrated solution. So I'm guessing if you don't want to use Flock stuff, you could, like, let's say you want to keep Flock's hardware, but you want to use, like, you don't want to use Flock OS, I'm guessing you could link it with Axon fuses. And this is a very dangerous part. I'm pretty sure with Flock, you know, you can query by plate and stuff like that, and you could make a pattern that way, but being able to generate heat maps and have it visualize patterns for you, this is really, really, really bad considering all the cases of police officers abusing this to find people. This is making it easier for police officers to abuse this. Okay, so now let's take a look at Axon evidence since they're bragging about this so much. So seamlessly manage evidence from call to closure to drive faster, stronger investigations. Okay, so based on this little video right here that it shows, so this is the dashboard, and whenever evidence is moved into here as the date, the duration, the owner of the cam, the title, and some ID. And then it also has an AI summary. I don't think this in particular is a bad thing. You know, I think a lot of reason why it takes a lot of time to find things or to solve some crimes is because, you know, you have to look through body cam footage, you have to look through other footage. And I think if ALPRs didn't exist, but this existed, I think that's a good use, and that would save a lot of time. And I feel like you would get closer. I feel like you could get the same results that it's talking about here, where you solve these crimes in the fraction of the time. I just think that a lot of these cities are pivoting to mass surveillance because it's the easiest thing to do. Yeah, so right here, investigators work any format, find facts faster, and prep disclosure early in one place, so detectives spend time on leads, not tool hopping, and cases move forward sooner. Officers cut paperwork and policy guesswork by enabling officers to easily capture evidence, manage metadata, get guidance, and generate first draft reports in minutes. You know, instead of having to like do all this busy work and paperwork that cops don't want to have to do, you know, it just kind of does it for them, but they still have to enter in like specific things, and they have to sign their name that says, hey, yeah, I read this and everything that is in here is true. I think it will enable a lot of laziness, and I'm assuming you can go back and like edit this. Like, for example, right here, I informed the driver that the reason for the stop was due to speeding in a school zone where the speed limit is blank. Yeah, he was speeding in a school zone and he was going blank miles per hour. That would need to be included in the report if this is a speeding thing, but this is not here. The only thing that the officer is having to input is the speed limit for this area. So I think it is necessary for the officer to be able to edit all of this. And also, depending on the police department's policy as well, it's very important. Still tons of things that could be changed or added on to, especially here. I just don't want this to lead to laziness and just letting the AI do everything. Because again, I 100% see an officer filling in all this and just not considering the fact at all that he should put what the guy was going. Maintaining file integrity. I don't know how people are going to be able to get convictions with Flock. I think it was last year, like around this time last year, after Ben Jordan revealed that you could just see these cameras live and delete and tamper with the stuff there. I don't understand how there's convictions that's being held on that whenever it was blatant that there was not any file integrity for Flock. I'm glad to see that, and all of this is good for the body cams. I feel like integrating all this with the body cams is good, but the ALPRs and all that mass surveillance is not good. It seems that this is a lot better than the way Flock had it, because it sounded like from the officers that did get charges from misusing Flock, they really had to go in there and like search individually the officer that was like doing the stalking and look at each log and count them. But this one, it looks like it's more streamlined and like you can see what exactly they're doing without having to like go in and meticulously pick out each and every query he made on a specific vehicle. Now this, I hope, is true. Flock also claims to meet CJIS requirements, but we know that is not the case. So I would very much like to see a third-party cybersecurity audit on them, because again, this just says, oh yeah, we meet their requirements and adheres to international privacy. Flock said the same thing, and that was not true. And I really like how this is giving a lot more transparency as to what they can do. I found it more difficult to find out what exactly officers could do with Flock, but knowing with this one that there are roles and permissions to give to each user seemed like this was not really thought of with Flocks. This is what I'm worried about. I think the only thing that you should be able to change here is the categories and the description. Changing metadata, like the title and the ID, like for example, this title shows exactly when it happened. If an officer is malicious, all they would have to do to get a conviction is like change change the timestamp by an hour, and that person's convicted. And all that officer has to claim is, oh well, it's in the metadata that's whenever this was taken. And of course someone would have to go back in and check this, but like a lot of people don't even know about metadata and what it is. So I feel like a judge would just see that and be like, oh yeah, well it says it was taken in this hour, and just like not even really bat an eye at it. I don't think you should be able to change metadata like this. I want to focus on this for a second. This is an Axon Body 3. What I'm very concerned about is the fact that Axon evidence can look at the footage and determine people. So the Axon Body 3 itself, as far as I know, does not have AI capabilities in and of itself, but Axon evidence does. And as you can see right here, this person, it's now tracking their face. These ALPRs that are live streaming, whenever it's uploaded to Axon evidence, it tracks your face and it marks it and everything. Provided that it's moved to Axon evidence, tons and tons of innocent people are going to be added to this. And then right here, I could see this being used maliciously as well. Being able to go over to heads and it just zooms in on all these people's heads and all that. This is also a lot of power for someone to be able to click a button and it identifies everyone's face. And look over here. Okay, I can't really zoom in on it that much, but you can see that it shows the person's face over here. So it's literally just zooming in on all of these innocent people's faces. It really all comes down to integrity and an honor system, which I don't think stuff like this should come down to an honor system. I really don't. If a city is willing to sacrifice their constituents' privacy, already shows that their honor is not that high. I believe that they're more inclined to use this for bad. But if they were just like using body cams and stuff like that, I could say, that makes their honor higher. But I just don't think this should be an honor system. This is way too much power for someone to have. So another thing right here that I want to talk about is their accuracy, which is stated in their FAQs. ALPR read accuracy is equal to or greater than 90% in all conditions. This is at least a 10% margin of error. That is a lot. There is a very significantly high chance that innocent people are still going to be held at gunpoint from these ALPRs. Can I share read/hit data with other partner law enforcement agencies? Any third party willing to sign Axon's partner API terms of use may use the search API to support third party integrations. Those of you that are concerned about ICE, your police department can sign an agreement with them for them to access your data. Does Axon search application require a warrant number or have other process limitations before I can search a read hit database? Search reason is a required field for any search and is logged and auditable. This helps ensure plate read data is accessed only for appropriate reasons. The only thing that is stopping you is if your admin does not grant this to you. So I'm just going to use this article as an example here. ICE agents being able to access Denver's data nearly 1,400 times. And that was because the city was part of Flock's national database. Axon does not have a national database like that, which is a good thing. Third parties can still access this. They just have to sign Axon's like third party API agreement terms. And also ICE probably is going to try to get access to some of these databases, and it's going to work. As much as I would like to say, oh no, ICE isn't going to be able to get into Axon, that's just not true. The fact that these databases even exist of innocent civilians is a bad thing. If you want to challenge these in your own city, I've put together my own anti-ALPR guide, which I will leave down in the description. And if you want to see my fight against these in my city, click the suggested video.